Introducing your hosts from Collingwood, Ontario, Canada, Jack Edwards, and his partner from Dallas, Texas, by way of Port Arthur, Texas, Big George. Together, they are the North-South Connection.
Hello, everyone. We are the North-South Connection. I'm Jack Edwards. Of course, that's Big George. Big in Canada, big in Texas.
Always just big. You hear me?
Yeah, just big. And he is big. I've met him in person. He's a big fellow. But ladies and gentlemen, it is 5 count. And tonight we have a very special episode. We have a returning guest.
Oh, yeah.
He's a longtime friend of mine, a mentor. He's a 26-year veteran of the wrestling game.
28.
And 28? Sorry. And, but unique for this episode, he's also an accomplished actor. I think he's been nominated for like 22 Canadian Screen Actors Guild Awards, probably, or at least he should have been. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Tornado. Tornado, thanks for joining us again.
Listen, I made those movies, but I needed the money. You know what I mean? I was young. I needed the money.
Okay. Yeah. Those are the other movies I didn't mention. Great actor.
Yeah, we left those out for a reason. Hey, if you want to get famous.
Or infamous. But, George, big weekend. Obviously, we'll kick it off. We'll start talking just a bit about the Rumble. And Mark, a Tornado, I know you watched it. What'd you think?
Oh, man. I haven't watched it in years, and now it's on Netflix, a little easier for me. And I got to tell you, man, I thought the girls' one was more exciting. There was more surprises. There was more, like, you had some of the old, some of the new, and actual surprises and returns. I thought it was way better, more exciting, But it was a good night, man. It was a great pay-per-view and professional and amazing.
Yeah, and the production value of WWE just can't be touched. It's just unbelievable. It just looks so.
How many indies are going to be flying drones around now, getting lawsuits because everybody's going to try and get that drone shot at the local gym? Freaking, you watch.
We should work on that for calling it. But like
an old lady in the front row.
People are like wrestling fans today like to use the term, "Oh, that was cinema. That was cinema," and I'm like, yeah, because it looks like a goddamn movie. Like that's like it's. The quality is so good and the production is so good and everything is so like the Penta entrance, just make it look so professional and so make him look like a big star. Everything's so well done. George, what did you think of the Rumble? I called the women's winner and of course Jey Uso prevented me from getting the men's winner, but nonetheless, I thought it was a good show. George, what do you think?
It couldn't have been prevented by a greater superstar. In hindsight, we all know how John feels about Jey Uso. This is a perfect return, I think, in my value. Like, I called Drew McIntyre
Karma
to take the thing. And when Drew McIntyre went out, I was like, who's left in this match? If anybody wins this match, I want it to be Jey Uso just to piss off John. And you know what? I don't say those things to be mean or malicious. But it makes for a great story, too. So the Rumble was actually very, very entertaining to me because, of course, it kind of set up, the Rumble is always good for setting up matches for the future. So throwing Braun Breaker in there and then throwing Jacob Fatu in there, and then you kind of throw Braun Breaker and Roman in there. You see how that kind of feels. And you kind of see, what it looks like to kind of pair, certain superstars against each other. And it kind of looks for a promising future for certain matches. So the Rumble's always exciting like that for me. And for this one, I can't see anything as far as, the one wasted pick, in my opinion. Of course, the fans are going to love it, but not something that I necessarily would say is something that I would want to see again. Yeah. Don't get people who don't wrestle or are not going to do anything in the Rumble like I Show Speed.
But the thing is, like we said, that thing got 300 million views on social media.
Yeah, of course it does.
And you made Braun Breaker a star.
Yes, Braun Breaker is like hot in the fish grease all over again. It's like he just came out all over again, and they're just now seeing him for the first time. He's fresh again, and I love it. Everybody And he never lost his spark. He never lost what he had. It's just that, certain people get fatigued on certain things when you see them continuously. And sometimes when
Yeah.
you that damn good, it kind of hurts to kind of get up in the ring and just kind of be that damn good all the time. Like, when Triple H had his reign of terror, everybody hated it, but he was really the best thing for the fucking business at that time. And you might have hated it, but at the same time, it was best for
Mhm.
business, and it kind of worked. So, like I say, Braun Breaker was the highlight of the night for me as far as
Yeah.
men's Royal Rumble. Even though he didn't win it, I feel like he did a really good ass job making that Rumble look goddamn good. So,
I mean, I was all about Jacob Fatu, man. That dude is the future. I'll tell you what.
monster.
Just brings it all together. Good on the mic,
Yes.
which was fantastic.
And he's an athletic freak. People look at people like Braun Breaker, and you can obviously see he's athletic. But the thing about Jacob Fatu is he's carrying it and flying with it.
Mhm.
Like you can't fake that. You have to know how to use it. Trust me. As a big dude, you either use it well or you don't use it well at all. And he's one of those guys who's very fluid with his movements. He can sell. He can do anything, and he can no sell like a motherfucker too. So I love that about him. Like that's his little Samoan trait. That no sell Samoan trait that they have is such a great move. I can't lie. I love it. I've loved it for years.
He's electric.
I like him because they call him a Samoan werewolf, and he wrestles like a werewolf, and he looks like a werewolf. And I just like you can see him. You could see like the lineage back from him to the greats like Umaga and the other great, wonderful
Yoko.
Samoan. Yeah, like you can see that aggressiveness that all the Samoan guys, and men and women have. And just the ability, like he can do things that nobody else can do at that size. And he's just so raw. And I think that and I'm a big fan of Braun Breaker too. Like you could definitely see, like he's ridiculously athletic. Like you, Mark, you always talk about coming from football. Well, I mean, Jesus. And he's got the pedigree and he's just, I think that's a match that people really, those two guys for me stood out as the future, and Penta. I just think the whole entrance and the look and, that whole thing, and he can speak English too. And he's like, and I always say like in like combat sports, the Hispanic babyface is always over. Never like Oscar De La Hoya, perfect example. And I think he's a great example of that. He's an amazing wrestler. He's got, I think he's got electricity to him. Those three are the guys who stood out to me as the future. And like what else I noticed too about the Rumble, Rey Mysterio is like 50 something. He's still amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like he never messes anything up. Yeah. I was impressed.
Rey has been a consummate professional his entire career. Mm-hmm. And that's hard to say about a lot of people because you don't have people who go this long in the industry who can say they've consistently been this way their entire career. Every match that Rey puts on, it's a fucking show. Yeah. From every age, you can pick a match every year that is a top-notch show from Rey Mysterio. You can just do that. I think you can do that for certain superstars every year. You can do that for John Cena. You can do that for, Randy Orton. You can do that for Rey Mysterio. You can do that for like everybody who you can think on that list that, is great. You can probably do that. And so Rey had a great night.
He was good.
You know who had an interesting night for me in the Royal Rumble? And this is, kind of odd in my opinion. But Joe Hendry, like the TNA appearance was great. Not gonna lie. Joe Hendry is one of the most over superstars in TNA. His music hits and every kid in the building is on their feet singing that theme song. So I'm not mad about it. I'm just like this. When he got in, I wondered how much he was going to actually do. He did quite a little bit, but
Roman tossed him out, which was, I think a good sign of not killing your partner, right?
Right. And Mark, I think that like there's a lot of things they could have went with that. If he would have got eliminated by the Miz, I would have felt the way. I kind of would have felt the way. That's what I'm saying. Like it wasn't bad at all. For him, that was great because if you get eliminated by one of the biggest dogs in the ring and in the business, Like that kind of
Yeah.
makes it look a lot better. Like it's not just gonna be anybody. So I'm kind of
Yeah.
glad they did what they did with Joe Hendry. So surprising night for me.
Tornado. Anyone else stand out that you noticed in the Rumble?
I was just thinking if I was in the Rumble, I'd want to get thrown out by Charles Robinson. That's who I'd want.
Okay. The 40-year vet.
Yeah. No, man, it was just it was great. I was surprised at some of the people that weren't in. Like, there's a lot of talent that I thought, oh, they're going to throw in this guy, that guy, and I never saw them. But I would have liked in the men's Rumble to see,
Goldberg.
Sure, or anyone, any nostalgia player to come out.
Yeah.
Right.
And a couple of surprises would have been nice.
I mean,
Yeah.
we all knew John Cena was coming, so it's,
Something.
yeah. Like that's not necessarily the pop that I think that folks are looking at. I kind of was waiting on something too. In my mind, I didn't have a specific superstar I seen coming out, but at the same time, I can definitely see one at any point. So,
Yeah.
kind of with the letdown there, but I think that the Rumble itself overall was still a great show.
Oh yeah,
overall.
it's always amazing. The classic pay-per-views, man, from back in the day.
Yeah.
It's a really good concept for sure.
Absolutely.
Last week we did the best Rumbles of all time with Matt McLean, and 92. I said it's the best ever. It's the best one. I mean, it was the best Rumble. It had 15 Hall of Famers in there, and every guy you knew who they were. You didn't have to question. You didn't have to like, who's this person?
Yeah.
You were like, you knew who they were, and that was the one Flair won. So to me, but this one was really good. It was really well done, and it was just it's such a spectacle. So, but tonight, people talk about wrestling today, and they're like, oh, that's cinema. Well, tonight we're going to talk about wrestling and cinema, and there's nobody more qualified to do it than the wonderful thespian that's on our program right now. So, Tornado, tell me about, you've done a ton of a lot of acting. How'd you get into that?
I wouldn't say that. I just
more than anybody else on this program. So
This is true.
I just got a call one day. The first time was doing some stunt work and just getting a call and saying, "Hey, you want to get thrown through a window?" And I'm like, "Yes." So
I'll be Marty Jannetty.
Yeah. So then I just had those. No, I don't want to be Marty Jannetty.
No, not in life, but
you'll get zoom off either.
No.
Anyway, so it just went from there, and the fellow who was running the little stunt group kind of took me under his wing, and we ended up doing a bunch of like sizzle reels and stunts and did a few things, and then I got a couple of parts, like did just mafia movies where I'm just standing in the background all the time, like for hours on end. Whatever, did a bunch of stuff. I played Santa in a Hallmark movie, which is the money we used to start Rock Solid Wrestling, by the way.
Thank you, Santa.
Hey, it's a gift that keeps on giving.
That's right. So yeah, man, I've had a lot of, and then did some of the Dark Side of the Ring stuff as well. So just had fun. I really love the cameras. I love being on set. I like being a stunt person better because you get to leave. If you have a part, you have to stay there all freaking day, and it's boring as hell. But the stunt people, it's like in, gone, and I like that a lot. Yeah.
So, and also, I did the movie Monster Brawl. I played I was one of zombie number 12 in that. And it was cool because I shared it. I could share it on social media. But the makeup, I have really awesome pictures of me in the makeup. It's amazing. He had like a pus boil coming out. Like the guy who did it did incredible work. And I walk into the makeup room, and sitting there is Kurgan and Kevin Nash. And it's like their legs are up to here. And Kurgan's the nicest guy, and he's a sweetheart. He was so nice, very quiet, enormous. And Nash walked up. He's like, "Hey, man, I'm Kev." It wasn't like he expected me to know who he was. And it was cool. It was cool to see how movies were shot. It was in a real shitty place. I was sick for days after it, but it was a cool thing. Like it's a group from my town here, Collingwood, who do a bunch of horror films. So it was this tournament of monsters, a pro wrestling tournament featuring
it's
monsters.
on Tubi right now, I think. You can watch that on Tubi.
Yeah, and Jimmy Hart was in it, and they had like I think Rosemary from TNA, RJ City, who's on AEW, was in it. Like, yeah, so it was really cool. But so the idea tonight is we're going to take a look at the top wrestlers turned actors, and we're not including on this list John Cena, The Rock, or Dave Bautista because that's too obvious. It's too easy.
Right.
So, we're going to kick it off with Mark. Mark, who are your first two picks? Your wrestlers turned actors.
So now, just to make sure, we're gonna come back around because I have like different mentions. I brought some props with me.
We do have honorable mentions.
Oh, somebody brought their notes. Oh, I love that.
I went all
doing their homework. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna pick my number one right now. For me, is Terry Funk in Roadhouse.
Okay.
Oh yeah, man. Just brought that realism to the hick bouncer and. He was just meant to be on camera. I love Terry Funk in the ring. I've always loved him. Him and Hulk Hogan. I think it's a Boston Gardens match is one of my favorite matches of all time. Terry Funk to me is what pro wrestling should be. It's somebody who, he's big and tough. Part of that football team, John, that we talk about all the time.
West Texas State.
And just the tough son of a bitch. And I'm telling you, not afraid to look a fool, not afraid to look a crazy man, not afraid to be. He's been a baby face, been NWA champion at all, and I just love him. He's so to see him in a movie carrying it through as one of the heel bouncers, fantastic. So he
was Paradise Alley too. He did Paradise Alley.
That's right.
He did a few other movies. He was great in Roadhouse. There was a young guy at our at the place I work at on the weekend. And he had just watched the new Roadhouse. And I said, have you ever seen the original? He said, no. I said, you have to watch it. Yeah. It's a great movie. And yeah, you're right. Terry Funk.
I chose that instead of Paradise Alley because, Patrick Swayze in that beautiful mullet. You can't beat it.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily just a single performance though. Like it could be a career. So Terry Funk applies to this list either way.
All right, so I got another one, and I know a lot of my wrestling brethren will have heat with me with this, but it's got to be said. George the Animal Steele. Okay.
I didn't think you were going to say that.
He was in Ed Wood, and he played professional wrestler Tor Johnson, who did so you had a professional wrestler playing a professional wrestler, both in movies. And Tor Johnson was a worker from the 50s era and the 60s era, and he was always the zombie in all these Ed Wood movies, these terrible B movies. And in fact, his face, like his mask, a rubber mask, is one of the top selling masks of all time, is this mask of this guy, Tor Johnson. So I just thought that was kind of neat that he had a chance to play a wrestler. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's no better acting in a role that you kind of already know. So there's almost no correcting him. Just make sure you get your lines right. That's it. And I think everything else comes naturally. So, that's a great pick. Some great picks. I think he got us off to a great start here, John. I'm not gonna lie to you. He got us off.
He did. I knew he would. So George, fire out there. Like let's see your pick.
I'm gonna take not an obvious pick, but an obvious pick. So, if you do your homework, kids, I'm a Conan the Barbarian fan, real good about it. So, I think you already know where I'm going with this tornado.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very large fellow. They call him Andre the Giant. I'm going to have as my pick. He was the Dagoth in Conan the Barbarian, which was a huge monster with a horn, and he was knocking motherfuckers out for about 40 minutes. It was bad. They unleashed him. It was crazy. It's a scene that you can watch on YouTube. It has a very extensive look on the video. You can see how big Andre was and how the camera work made him look even bigger. It was like Andre's already huge, so it made him look like a wall. It was amazing. So yeah, I'm gonna throw Andre Giant in the mix. Andre don't get
and Princess Bride.
Yeah, and he was in Princess Bride.
Princess Bride. With Wallace Shawn, who was in the movie with Tornado, the Hallmark movie. We were just talking about it before.
Now. So that
But
was
yeah,
the
like
second Conan movie, correct? With Wilt Chamberlain and
Will Chamberlain as well. Yes.
Yeah.
fuck, that's funny. Well,
Great movie.
if we're going like it is, that was a good pick too. I like this list. I got to go with Roddy Piper and They Live.
Okay.
And I just think that he was one of the first guys to really make a movie like where he was the key part of it. And they had that alley fight, and he was so good in it. And just I love to come. You know, I came here to chew bubble gum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubble gum. He's just like such a badass. And then I got to give a shout out too for his acting skills. He was in The Masked Saint, which you were in, right, Mark?
Sure.
Yes, and he and Jesse Ventura had a pilot for a TV show called Tag Team in like 1991.
That's right.
And you can find it, and it's outstanding. So on the list currently, it's a good list. Terry Funk, George Steele, and Ed Wood. Terry Funk in Roadhouse. Andre the Giant in Conan the Barbarian, and we can add the Princess Bride as well. And Roddy Piper. So we need a fifth, and I'm going to throw a name out there that I think we should definitely include in the list. Kevin Nash.
Yeah.
And it could be Magic Mike. It could be the what do you call it? The Longest Yard. He was in an interesting. Yeah, definitely. He was in a movie called Chick Fight with Alec Baldwin was in it, where this girl found
He was
like
the
she finds it.
Shredder in Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles. He was in The Punisher. He's been in a lot of movies, and but I think either for Kevin Nash, for me, it's either The Longest Yard or Magic Mike. I think that's like to be able to do like that kind of stuff, and I think he's in pretty good range. I think he was a good actor. So
I'm
and a great.
more. I'm gonna take him in Ninja Turtles because to play Shredder. I mean, one, you don't have any personality but a motherfucking madman who kills fucking turtles in a subway. So who else? Like, I'm not saying that you could get any other 7 fucking footer to come out there and do that, but he had the physique, he had the look, like he looked terrorizing. Like I never knew how bad this shit was as far as how good he looked in the movie until they undressed him. And I was like, bro, look at his arms. That was all him. That wasn't no makeup. They just sprayed a little water on him, make him glisten a little bit. He was yoked. Like,
dude, he is the biggest human I've ever met in my life. Like, until you stand next to that guy, you have no. There's a picture I have of him. I said, hey, Kevin, can we get a picture? And I ended up driving him back to his hotel. But we got a picture, and he played Colonel Crookshanks in the movie, which was this old army colonel. And he put the fucking gun to my head. And I looked like a little person next to him. And he had huge arms. He is the nicest guy in the world. Like, he's smart as hell. Had great stories.
Man, I could listen to
very
him
smart.
Read the phone book. Yeah, he's really entertaining.
And he's the best, one of the best wrestling shoot interview guys ever. Like, if you ever really watch shoot interviews, for me, there's like two guys who are the best, and it's Jim Cornette and Kevin Nash. Because they're both super articulate, super intelligent, know the business. His response to the question, what went wrong with the NWO pay-per-view? And Nash said, let's ask a shorter question. What went right? So, I don't know. I mean, I think Kevin Nash belongs in the top 5.
Sounds good.
George?
I honestly don't.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking of who I would try to replace with him, and everybody else has a shorter, much, unserious role kind of in certain movies. And it's like some people were in big movies but didn't play big roles, and some people play big roles in small movies, which is not a bad thing. But I feel like there's levels to it, and all 5 of these guys played at a level in their movies that was just.
They did big movies too.
They did big movies, and then they were huge stars as well in the wrestling business. So I think that kind of ties into kind of how you have to look at this. Like, they were just not like before John Cena and The Rock. There was Andre the Giant. There was Roddy Piper. They were all doing movies. These were the big stars at the time. And this is a time where the social media era didn't really exist. So it's kind of like saying like, yeah, Cena's big. But maybe Roddy Piper and Andre would have been a little bit bigger. Who knows?
And it was different then for guys like Roddy Piper to do. It was different for a guy to do a movie, but
John, you went down, baby.
I'm coming back though. Don't worry. I think it's snowing here still. So the squirrel that I have, or the hamster that I have running my internet, it's not working too well. But like, I don't know how we're like. How would you? Because I think I have a guy. I think I have the clear cut number one. But how would you rank?
Oh, I don't have a clear cut number one.
Did you say him?
I have one.
Like,
What?
who would your clear cut number one be?
I think if you're looking at the big of all these guys, the guy who has the best volume of work and the most, I think it's Kevin Nash.
Yeah. I think
he's done the most work.
No. There's one other person that you're missing out on.
Okay.
El Santo. The El Santo movie. Oh my God. Are you
El
kidding
Santo.
me? This is a library, my friends.
Well, I mean,
the best movies of all.
Lucha.
would you put El Santo over George Steele?
I would. Because it's a guy. I want to see a Western with a guy wearing a mask riding a horse, shooting zombies. And somehow, in every one of his movies, Dr. Frankenstein shows up. It's the best. Of course, that happens all the time. You know,
So, okay, then
they bring this to the screen.
we'll replace George Steele with El Santo.
Sure, he should be number one.
Okay, so you would be El Santo. You put him number. I mean, for sure, volume of movies. He's made hundreds of them, right?
So popular, right? That's what I love about the whole genre. Is like I love B movies. I don't like reality movies. I don't want to see a Frankenstein rip a person apart and it looks like a real person. I want to see a Frankenstein in a rubber mask. I want to see a Godzilla step on Lego houses. That's what I love. I love the cheesiness and the silly.
You love kung fu movies.
You like kung fu movies with the voice?
Yeah, that's what I want. I don't want to see reality. I want to escape for a couple hours. So
you know what? That makes so much sense. I'm not gonna lie. That sounds so peaceful. That kind of sounds peaceful.
I like the old Planet of the Apes movies, not the new ones.
Not the new ones. Okay, I got you.
Guys running around with the freaking masks on. You know.
Yep.
To me, the El Santo thing kind of bridges a bunch of gaps, man. It's just fantastic. Because of course, if the government needs help because there's Dr. Frankenstein going to set off a nuke, you go to a pro wrestler to get help, don't you? Come on.
I mean, there's okay.
And like the biggest star probably in the history of Mexican wrestling, like the biggest.
Yeah.
When you talk about worldwide star power, there probably isn't anyone bigger, really, because he had El Santo. Like he was, so if he's one, I'd put Nash 2. I definitely got to have Terry Funk and Roadhouse at 3, I think.
4, I'm giving
Andre, and that's Roddy Piper, and They Live. So that's fine. Mark, you said you had some honorable mentions.
Oh boy, do I! But some of these are like the actual movie. So talking about cinematic, like impact would be Highlander, the movie, the first one.
Okay.
The shot opens with they're in an arena at an AWA wrestling show, and shot on cinematic like film, like movie film, is the Freebirds, all 3, versus Greg Gagne, Jim Bronzell, and the Tonga Kid. And just the shots of these guys, seeing them on the big screen with that crystal clear film. My God, what an impact, man. It looks so damn good. So damn good. I don't know if you remember those scenes, but it was like that's how the movie opened. So do you have so Highlander, that's a great one. Yeah, man. Here's the other one too. Is there was a documentary, and I got it right here on VHS, by the way. There it is. It's called I Like to Hurt People.
I Like to Hurt People with Andre the Giant.
Yeah, and there's Dusty, right? And the whole it was like a mockumentary about trying to cancel the Sheik, the original Sheik from, and fantastic. It's just you get to see everybody gets a little part, all the major players of the time of that territory. Lots of blood, Dusty's there. The Sheik is awesome. It's just a great thing that when I was a kid to see something like that, it's like, oh my God. Another honorable mention, Grunt, the wrestling movie. Have you people ever seen Grunt, the wrestling movie?
No.
It's on Tubi. It's on Tubi now, and Adrian Street's in it. Dick Murdoch's in it. The actors are not workers, but the whole movie's about wrestling. And this guy, Mad Dog Joe DeCurso, decapitates somebody with a clothesline.
That sounds fun.
But anyways, true story. Yeah, and then my number one secret pick is The Best of Tornado DVD. Look at, it's not DVD, VHS. That's a VHS. Look at how thick that is.
Man, that's taking me back.
John, I think you designed the cover for me.
I did. I designed that cover. That was me.
There you go.
I love how we came up with a VHS. It was just classic.
You gotta hear your own library.
George, do you have an honorable mention or two here?
Of course I do. Who would I be?
All right. Well, let's give it.
In the spirit of the season, I'm gonna throw this person out here. Not only because he's gonna headline the Hall of Fame now, but Triple H, because he was in several movies. He was in Blade Trinity as a vampire, and I'm gonna tell you right now, that's escaping reality for me, in sense, because I love Blade. I love like DC and Marvel. I love all that shit that ain't gonna happen. I love it. I love everything about it because, of course, it ain't gonna happen. It's not reality. So he played a really good part in that movie. For some reason, that was one of his that was during the reign of terror. So he was kind of big, and they had him walking around with this little ass dog, which was a vampire as well. So and it was kind of cool because he could sick the dog on people and the dog would go off on motherfuckers. So it was great. But yeah, he was in a couple shows as well as a couple TV shows as well. One of my favorites, The Bernie Mac Show. Who don't love comedy? So of course, Frank calling Triple H is one of the episodes, and it kind of gets to a point to where Triple H doesn't really know who's calling and from where, and it's Bernie's nephew, and he just constantly calling him, and he having whole conversations with him, and Triple H never hangs up the phone for some reason. Me personally, I would have blocked him by then, but apparently he just keeps answering the phone, and he's just like, I swear to God, kid, if I find out who this is. And it's just like a constantly going on thing. They figured out who he is at the end of the episode, but it's great because he plays a great part of himself just being in the episode. So I'm throwing Triple H in that basket.
That's cool.
So I gotta put Stone Cold Steve Austin in here.
Shit. Yeah.
I mean, we can't. I mean, we can't forget about him. I mean, not only is he like the greatest ever, but like he did. He was in The Longest Yard. Everybody was in that. Goldberg was in it. Great Khali was in it. Bob Sapp. It had like a ton of people. But Austin was great in. He was in Grown Ups 2. He was good in that. He was in The Condemned. Yeah, he did a bunch of stuff and did a ton of reality shows. So yeah, I think Austin kind of has to be on the list. And George, you had one Vader in Boy Meets World. Yeah. Vader did Boy Meets World.
Vader was in a really bad 80s kung fu movie called Fist of the North Star as well.
That was a horrible movie.
What about Hulk Hogan, man? He's the guy who started the whole thing. Come on. He was the one guy. Rocky 3, and then it was all downhill after that. But anyways.
No Holds Barred was good. No Holds Barred was,
Hogan, baby. He started it all.
Yeah, he did. I mean, Rocky 3 was the one that would. That's really what catapulted him to becoming the biggest wrestling star in the world.
For sure.
And like he looked so enormous in that movie. He looked super big. because Stallone was so short.
If we're talking no holds barred, another honorable mention, Tiny Zeus Lister.
Yes.
Zeus was
Oh my God.
amazing in that movie and
Yeah.
many other movies.
Oh my God, he had a huge career.
Yeah. So
And he might be on. Stan Hansen was in that No Holds Barred too.
That's
Mhm.
right. That's
Yep.
right.
He was the guy in the bar. They got some teeny wangers.
Yeah, exactly.
Superstar
So
Yeah. So
Bill Eadie, superstar Bill Eadie was in that too.
yeah, he was in that too. Mean Gene, of course, was great in it. Jesse Ventura. I mean, my God, like
Sure.
there's a
Predator
lot of
and-
wrestlers who turned actor.
Toro
It's-
Tanaka,
Yeah, Running Man.
Running Man.
Yeah, like he did all those Arnie movies, and then he's another articulate, guy, and fantastic actor. You know, that's the thing about pro wrestling, right? You get your improv chops from the ring, and then if you can carry it through to say someone else's words, mind you, things are different now. You say someone else's words all the time, but back in the day you didn't. It was all you came up with those words, and so I think that it was a good training ground for these guys to take it to the next step.
Remember Learning the Ropes
Yes,
with Lyle Alzado?
Yeah, and it was the girl from Degrassi was in that. Stephanie K.
Yeah, because it was shot in Canada.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I remember he broke Jimmy Garvin's leg. That's the only episode I remember. So George, in the 80s, they did this show, Learning the Ropes. And Lyle Alzado was the star. Played a teacher by day, I think, and night moonlighted as a pro wrestler.
Yeah.
And it had all like the Jim Crockett guys in it. So it was like, but it was shot in Canada, which is really strange. And maybe last but not least is the original wrestler with that Vern Gagne did. and that is Ed Asner.
Yeah.
Like, not the shitty Mickey Rourke one, but the real one.
Yeah. That Mickey Rourke one was pretty gross. I didn't like it.
Most movies about pro wrestling, like, that are mainstream ones, generally aren't very good. I didn't like The Wrestler. I wasn't a huge fan of the Von Erich one. I thought it was a good story, but once they pulled out but the guy who played Flair just was like, that's it. Like, what are we doing here? Like, that's just bullshit. Like, that killed the movie. Like, you have the greatest, maybe the greatest wrestler of all time, and this is who you get to play him. Like, Jesus. So that was bad. And like Ready to Rumble was a joke. So
I like Ready to Rumble as far as the cameos. I like the wrestlers that they put in it. I just hate what they were doing. Like, it just kind of made it like, all right. Sting's role was so, it was like he was a spoof of himself. And that's what I hated. Like, he got in the ring and was just like, he said one line, and of course it came like in Sting fashion, not really saying very much, but at the same time it just kind of looked very TV ticklish. It was all in the light of comedy, so it kind of looked like that too. So and that was like, how I looked at that. Oh,
but
just
I got one. Yeah, go ahead.
Randy Savage.
Yeah,
Spider-Man. Yeah.
You're going.
He was great.
Like, that was one of the best. Like, he
Bullsaw's ready.
He got to play a wrestler, and I'm like this. Why wouldn't I want Randy Savage in here? I love Randy Savage anywhere. Like, shoot that in my arm twice.
A Disney animated movie called Bolt. He was a voice of one of the.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And as another connection, Mark in one of the Dark Side of the Ring or Tales from the Territories episode actually played Randy Savage.
That's right.
And I think I messaged him. I'm like, I watched the episode. I'm like, did you play Randy Savage? I'm like, I know that person. The other one I was thinking about, it was a TV show. It's my favorite episode of this TV show was Baywatch, the one where they did the wrestling episode. And like,
exactly what you was about to say.
Yeah. Hogan, and they're doing this deal, and it's like Hogan, Savage, and the Baywatch lifeguards, and they're trying to save this local gym. And Judo Gene LaBelle's in there too.
There you go.
He's another guy. He's done a ton of movies as well. And Mondo Guerrero did a lot of stunt work too. I think Mondo did a ton, and Chavo, I think, does all the wrestling sequences. He did Glow, and he does all them. But it's the best scene because Flair, Sullivan, and Vader get out of the limo. And they're like, and Flair owns the property. He brought all the property, including this local gym that everybody loves. And the best scene, because I sent it to Tornado one day, is when she goes, "You can't do that." He's like, "Honey, I could do what I want. I got the document." And just the way he says it, it was great.
Isn't it Baywatch with that famous scene where Davey Boy and Sting are on the beach and the boat blows up? Is that?
That's not Baywatch. That was just a promo. That was just a promo for a match.
Yeah.
Again against Sid and it was just. Might as well. Remember the White Castle of Fear too?
Yeah.
They made that kind of into a movie, and it was like that match was incredible. They could have put it didn't matter what they did. They could have been the dumbest promos. That match was money, but the Baywatch one led to Bash at the Beach '95 in front of it's Flair and Savage, I think, and Hulk and Vader. Yeah, in front of thousands of people on an actual beach.
Yeah,
which we obviously.
When Flair does the documents line, doesn't Vader sitting there with his gear on? He's got the mask on.
And I think he crushes a basketball too.
Right.
And Sullivan's sitting there in a suit with the devil horns. Just classic stuff. Just classic.
So good. So just like real life is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Exactly.
But so those are the ones. I think we got a great list tonight. We had some great talk about there's so many ties between wrestling and movies. Because like you said, I think a lot of wrestlers, if you're have that aptitude where it's live improv. I mean, essentially you're getting one shot. So, and I think wrestlers also don't mind being they get it's a work,
Well, especially back in the day, right? Because you literally had to, through your verbiage, had to draw asses into seats, and that is a skill beyond anything. There was no $100,000 vignette made to put your character over. It was your mouth, and then your mouth first, and then your action second, right? Your physical second. So the talkers were always the ones who were successful, and if you can be a successful pro wrestler, you can sell anything, right? And at the end of the day, back then, you're just good at what you do. You can go into
You know how many Slim Jims I ate?
Pardon me?
So you know how many Slim Jims I ate?
That's right.
He snapped into it.
Boy, did I?
I just think, and then you look at a guy like Roddy Piper who became a great actor, and he then did stand-up comedy too. He did stand-up kind of thing.
That's wild.
But I think Heenan was the guy that never got the shot to do that because he was the funniest guy. He was the funniest guy. Just so witty. I just wish he had the opportunity to do some movies, or he could have done more talk show stuff. But no, so many talented guys. But we got what a great list, George. Fantastic episode. Next week, we're doing best celebrity matches. So the best celebrity matches.
My favorite celebrity interaction is David Schultz knocking the snot out of that journalist. So that's my favorite one right there. I'll go on the record.
Well, that's funny.
A worker. Watch David Schultz against Hulk Hogan. Good God. David Schultz was a monster. He's so good.
And Hogan brought him in specifically because he's I remember him saying on some podcast, he's I had to bring David Schultz in to get me over. And it's oh, okay. That's what, and he was the guy, it was supposed to be him allegedly, and he came up with the match for WrestleMania. He's why don't you put me and Roddy against Hulk and T? And then he slapped the guy and he got shit canned and just, but I mean, you're gonna insult that dude in front of him. He's gonna slap a taste out of your mouth.
It's just it's just the way of the times, right? You have to defend the business back then, and
Yeah,
but
but
it's just I don't know.
but that's why you liked I Show Speed so much, right? Like
What's that?
him getting killed. You liked him. You like
Like I was just so happy to see that, and
yeah.
it's almost like Umaga with that guy from Jackass. It's just like, oh, please lay him out.
Man, just lay out, bro. I'm like, Steve-O, you about to keep getting hit.
But I think there were good ones done, and I think we'll talk about I think one will, like there were some good ones, really good ones done. Like Andy Kaufman, I thought was smart. I think that was the way that was pulled off. I think it was smart, and it was like because he apparently asked for the ambulance in the match. Like he was like, Andy wants an ambulance, and Lawler's like, no, it costs like $250, and Kaufman's like, I'll pay for it, and paid for the hospital bill, and then like became an actual manager. It was cool. So I think there's a lot of.
We have to do a part 2 of this one day because this is silly, but there's an Italian movie. There's 2 of them, 3 of them, and the guy's a masked wrestler who somehow got superpowers and is now a private, like a James Bond character, like a spy. I can't remember. I was trying to look at it, but I can't remember anything about it. But I'll send you guys some links, and we have to come back and talk about this movie because I think it's based on a true story.
Okay. I told
I can't remember the name of the movie, man. It's there somewhere. It's Super something. His name is. He's got a red hood, like a red total body outfit, like the Phantom, and then a black mask. And then of course he takes the gimmick off and he bangs chicks and he solves crimes. But that's what I was.
We should steal that gimmick.
It's basically based on my life, but
you.
We should steal that gimmick for Rock Wrestling. No anyway, yeah, exactly. Tornado, thank you very much for joining us, George. Another great episode.
Good luck.
Always as usual.
Go Chiefs. Go Chiefs.
That's right. Yeah. A Tornado, a former football player, is a big Patrick Mahomes fan. So everybody out there can kiss my ass. But so we're gonna see it looking good, right, George?
Hey, God bless y'all on Sunday.
Hey man, let me talk about Patrick Mahomes, okay? This dude, he earned my respect. I did not like him, but because of his leadership and the way he carries himself on the field, and I just like, wow, like he's changing my ideas of how I felt about him. He's the real deal.
He knows how to win.
Yeah,
There's something about knowing how to win and knowing how to do it with class.
And what a leader, right? Like the guy in a game, he doesn't have to. He runs that ball, takes a hit, gets back up, like goes that extra mile for his team.
Like those guys will run through a wall for him, and they should. Because he's gonna give them everything they got. So I can't wait. I'm kind of sad as usual this time of year. Football is essentially over.
Yeah.
So
we still got the UFL though, George.
No, we don't.
And I'll watch it. I don't care. I'll watch any football.
I will watch college highlights all goddamn day before I watch the UFL. You know why? Because the UFL has a thing about not necessarily running certain types of plays, and then it kind of ruins the game of football in a sense. But there's some
I don't care
in the UFL. There's some really talented individuals in the UFL.
So. It's tackle football, and it's like a bridge between like actual football and then playoff hockey and baseball. So it'll be a nice big.
Come up to Canada, and John and I will get you loaded, and we'll go see some CFL football, baby.
That don't sound like a bad idea.
You can go for.
It's a hell of an idea. It's a hell of an idea.
While football season is actually over, high school football in Texas does start. So I have that.
I can just imagine how easy that is.
Oh, I live in a great area too, because I live in an area where there's two powerhouse teams, and so they play everybody in the nation damn near because they get the opportunity. Like they're one of them's the best team in Texas, and so it's just like, and then the other one rivals them so well, but I don't know where they rank. But at the same time, watching the games going out there is. I don't go to them. I just watch them on TV because, of course, when you are going to two rival schools and you got a lot of people who got money on the line, y'all can have that. Like I'm not about to get between y'all and y'all kids. Fuck that. So y'all can have a good night. I'll see it on the news. I'll see the highlights on TV, but I am not going out there.
You know,
I'm
you
good.
guys should do a podcast on that football team in West Texas State. You know, and just all the pro wrestling talent on that team is out of this world.
14 guys. 14 guys at 3 world champions. Dory Funk, Terry Funk, and Dusty Rhodes. Dick Murdoch wasn't from West Texas State, but he did play. Apparently, he snuck into the alumni game.
There you go.
Like there was an alumni game. Apparently, Dick Murdoch snuck in, but it was like Bruiser Brody, is Stan Hansen, and like just the level of talent. What's that?
Tully Blanchard.
Tully, Tito,
Mm-hmm.
Ted DiBiase,
Yeah.
Bobby Duncombe.
Hell's happening? Like,
Me, just
Yeah,
all kinds of talent coming out of Texas. It's great.
that's why so many guys like from that area, because the Funks were right down the road. They came out. So, but yeah, I hope I want to see Texas high school football live. I just think that'd be, I think that'd be a cool experience because I'm such a big football fan.
It'll make you go crazy.
I bet you it will.
It's like so. It ain't Nebraska, but the vibe.
Thank God for that. Thank God for that.
Nebraska, so hey, come out, have a good time. Every Texas football game I've ever been to was a good time. I just don't. I don't go to them no more. Like I say,
I gotta admit though, John, CFL is awesome. Like it's fun. It's fun.
I'll take it. It's great it's a great live sport.
It's lucha libre of football.
Of NFL. It's lucha libre. Okay.
You really got to strike fast. Yeah, man.
Mark,
I'm not gonna say it was like they say. So from what John was explaining, it's like a lot of running the ball versus a lot of passing.
More now. See, here's so the 3 downs. I guess were supposed to create more offense, but over the last few years, defenses have gotten better. Run games have gotten better in the CFL. Passing games aren't as great as they used to. Like in the heyday, in like the 90s when Flutie was here, they were scoring just crazy. And
was up here playing, man. It was amazing.
He won 5 straight Grey Cups.
Yeah.
And just my first CFL game, I was in Regina. Rhymes with fun. Which Regina is in Saskatchewan, which pretty much is the Nebraska of Canada. But they have no other pro sports. Well, they have like no other professional sport except the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And you go there and it's like insane. It is crazy. I went there. I got really drunk. It was great. But then I went to Hamilton. I've been to the new stadium in Hamilton, which was awesome a couple times. And so, yeah, it's good football to watch. I always like it. I mean, again, I'll watch any football. I remember during COVID when they were bringing back like Coastal Carolina versus like Southeastern New Mexico State. And I was like, I'll watch it. I mean, so I'm all in. And I think, I think the Chiefs got a shot this Sunday. So I'm looking forward to it. But Tornado, thanks again. It's always a pleasure. George?
Always a pleasure.
So much.
We'll see him next week.
All right.
Like, share, subscribe. We here.
Yeah.